Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening live to the Angel Rock with your host. I'm Lorilei Potvin. You are listening to us live out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and it's United Public Radio Network. If you are listening to the show but you want to watch it, please come over to either our Facebook page, which is United Public Radio Network, or you can find it. The title is actually UFO Paranormal Radio Network. The same thing, we are broadcasting live on our I think it's two of our three YouTube channels tonight. I set it up. So we will be live on UFO Paranormal Radio as well as UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. So come and watch the show. If you're watching it on my Facebook profile, as I always let you know, I can't see the comments till after the show. And if you're a regular of the show, you know I love to involve you in part of the conversation. If you've never been here before, welcome. I say I cover all aspects of the supernatural and esoteric with a bit of truth seeking thrown in there, always with a positive spin. And the guests that I have, whether what they are doing professionally or extracurricularly, they're making a positive change for humanity. And those are the kind of people I like to have on my show. Also, should say, for those of you that regularly tune in, thank you for being here. Please be sure to share our network with your friends. There's something for everybody here. A little bit about myself. Again, my name is Lorilei Potvin. I am a Canadian. I'm a clairvoyant medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer, an Akashic Records practitioner, a spiritual teacher and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse. And today is a special day. You got just little old me today. Sorry, guys, if you see me squirming. I do have a bad back. It's one of the reasons why I'm no longer in active nursing. So I apologize. I do try to sit still, but if you see me squirming, that's why. Just getting comfy. I've been doing this a long time. I've had some experience quite extensively with the paranormal. It seems to be, hey, Michelle, good day from Australia, I do believe. Also, I was just going to say it. I hadn't got to it yet, and I will because you are one of my birthday twins, I believe. So, Michelle Pratt from Australia. It is also my birthday. Actually, your birthday was probably earlier being in Australia, right? Because what time is it? Yes, probably early morning on the 16th, but her birthday's the same day as mine, if I'm not mistaken. So I decided this evening, I wasn't sure if we were going to be out at the cottage or not. We're not, because the Dell, who is also on this network on Thursday nights with his own show, my real partner in crime, real life, he has a show called The Delicious Recipe. Not a cooking show. Be sure to check it out at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Yeah, day before. That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was very close around the same day as my birthday, Michelle. So I thought, what are we going to talk about tonight? And I don't hide my age. I think age is just a number. I just turned 57. I got the most beautiful messages from people. They are pouring in. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys have all made my day. I've gotten some beautiful phone calls from people, some surprising messages from people I didn't expect. And we'll leave it at that. But very, very shocking. And even one of my relatives calling me, an uncle of mine that's a favorite, called me, didn't even realize it was my birthday, but for some reason decided to call and check in. I hadn't talked to him in a while, so it was a nice conversation. So I thought, what are we going to talk about tonight? And I thought, what have I been dealing with lately? And what I have been, I was on a podcast recently. I'm on quite a few of them. I love to meet new people this way, share, what I've learned or what I'm learning or what I've experienced. And if it's ever able to help other people, that's the reason why I do it. And it was on Forbidden Knowledge News Network with Chris Matthew. And I talked about our extreme paranormal experience we had in our previous home. And I had quite a few people reach out, which I'm very grateful for. I will give you a heads up. Chris Matthew will be back on the Angel Rock on Halloween night. Yes, folks, we are live here on my show, the Angel Rock, Halloween night. Chris and I have already been talking, just putting some ideas out. We're hoping to do a really spooky, kind of scary, paranormally type show because 'tis the season, right? So I've had a few people reach out and are going through some unusual activity, and we're asking if I would take a look at some pictures. And you know what? A lot of people go through that. I was at that point at one time many years ago. I started locally, then I went provincially, then I went across Canada, then North America, and so on and so forth. So, pretty well, I was reaching out to people all over the world looking for some kind of help. And I really do recognize what it feels like, especially if you're like what we were like. We were never looking for the paranormal. We were not active enthusiasts. This was long before paranormal TV shows were out, and really kind of sent us for a loop because it seemed to come out of nowhere. And it was like, what the heck is going on here? Don't get me wrong, as a nurse, especially working on an active floor with palliative care or end of life. We had cardiac patients, so people could have cardiac arrests. Even in the NICU, when I worked there, we had sick babies or stillbirths, but there were always very unusual, unexplainable things that I witnessed as a nurse working actively in the community as well as out on the floor. And I noticed, I guess somebody had asked me what I would call myself, and I guess the buzz term would be a light worker, but I'm a little different than most light workers. Most I have met in the field, and I believe we work with what we're meant to, but most light workers I work with don't seem to have the kind of paranormal experiences that I have. Not everybody, I've met some that do, but I've also met quite a few nurses that seem to have realized their gifts and abilities and are now working in the light worker field. And when we get a bunch of us together and we start talking about some of the stories and the things that we've seen, some pretty miraculous, incredible, unexplainable things we see, we witness, we experience, especially at the end of life. So, I am writing a book, by the way. I'm writing three books. One is with our journey through autism. All the books are meant by sharing our story to help other people, that hopefully somebody will find something that resonates with them and give them what they may need to find the information they need to be able to continue on with their journey, whatever it may be. But my third book, I'm collecting stories right now, mostly from nurses, also from first responders, of the incredible things that we see, like I said, while we're working. So, back to the people that contacted me, both two very lovely people. One of the things that's very important to me always, whether I'm doing readings, healing sessions, teaching, mentoring, or even helping people, and I really want to put this out here, I don't charge people to help them with the paranormal. I feel like I need to pay it forward because that's what I ran into when I was needing help. And I just feel that when you're going through things with the paranormal, especially if you're dealing with something darker, and I've tried to explain this to people that, say, in my case, now again, this entity defined itself as something demonic. Was it? I don't know. It gave me a name, gave me its animal form, couldn't find it. But 10 years later, I was helping somebody, and there, right in black and white, in numerous sources of something I was looking up, I found exactly what I had been told in this dream when all our paranormal activity started. So there has to be something to it. And it was, the information I was given definitely was defined as something demonic. Now, the one thing I want to put out there, demonic activity, not everything is demonic. And I feel like with TV, although I'm very grateful for the opportunities that it affords people to learn about the paranormal, it really gets shown as everything out there is demonic. And it's actually quite rare to have true demonic activity. Um, you can have poltergeist, you can have all kinds of things. And again, I think we just barely scratch the surface when we start looking at these things, talking about it, investigating it, documenting it. But the one thing that I do see with people, and again, if you contact me, please don't take it the wrong way, because I was told this in the beginning too, and I was kind of offended that when we start taking pictures, right, and then we blow them up and then it looks like a face or it looks like something else, or when somebody, just anybody, is looking at a picture and you can't really see what someone's talking about, there is a phenomena out there called pareidolia. And what that is, basically, the human brain tends to fill in the details of certain things to make sense of them. And usually we'll see a face or no matter what it is, including, sometimes in the clouds. Like, how many times have we all done that, especially as kids, laying on our backs, looking at the clouds with, a couple friends and saying, oh, that one looks like a rabbit. That one looks like a duck, or whatever it may be, right? Now, I'm not saying that when, say, somebody sent me a picture that there's nothing there. But what I'm saying is, if you have to really blow it up and it's really fuzzy, and yeah, I could probably see a face in it. What I've advised people is, if you sent that to a paranormal team that's experienced, or other people, you may very well get told it's pareidolia. So I thought, well, let's talk about tonight what happens when, how do you know if you have paranormal activity? And then the other thing is, what can you do about it? Because believe me, we can do a lot. And I think my biggest lesson coming out of the home that I did, and as extreme as it was, getting scratched, bitten, burnt, thrown. If you followed the show, you know that I've mentioned many times that Dell has been thrown like 15 feet across the kitchen. Nothing's there. He didn't even tell me about it in the beginning, because he's still a skeptic to this day. He's got to debunk it 6 ways to Sunday before he'll even consider that it's paranormal. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Excuse me while I grab a drink. So, some of the things that you may know that you have paranormal activity. Some people have had it around them their whole lives. I know I have. And many people that follow this show, I know they have too. But say you move into a new home, and there's some really interesting cases out there right now that are, especially on TikTok, there's quite a few, and they will stream live. And some of the things you are seeing, just mind blowing. So say you move into a new home, you don't really know the history of the home. We always seem to hear this on TV, or people's personal stories, that they found this incredible apartment or house, either to rent or buy, and it was super cheap. You couldn't figure, like, what good fortune this place is going for, next to nothing. First of all, that would be a red flag for me. I think I'd want to ask a little bit about that. Why is it going so cheap? Maybe if you could talk to the previous owners before you get signed into it. Okay, but say you moved in and everything seems to be okay until a couple days you're there, and maybe you're starting to hear a few little knocks or bangs or whatever, right? Well, that's the first thing. You can't just jump to the fact that maybe it's paranormal activity. We do need to look at this with an open mind, even though it may be ourselves living in the home, and try to debunk it or figure out what could have caused the noise. So you start looking around. I always say to people, document. I am so glad I documented the things that I did, but I knew in the back of my mind, maybe it comes from being a nurse, like if it wasn't charted or written down and described, or, I mean, wouldn't take pictures of people, but you could create a picture with your words by being as descriptive as possible. And that actually isn't a bad skill to carry forward in anything. Say you're talking to somebody about returning something, or calling about a letter you've gotten. Always a good thing to write down the day, the time, who you spoke to, and what you spoke to them about, because it really does help, because our memories are good, but they can tend to be short about certain details. Same thing with the paranormal. So say you start noticing some knocks and bangs and what happens, things that aren't usual. Maybe it's waking you up in the middle of the night, whatever it may be. Again, start to document it. Just write it down, what times it happening, what was going on in the home at the time. Were you sleeping? Were you actively doing whatever? And so on. Because a lot of people tend to think from watching TV, and again, please don't think I'm being dismissive here, because a lot of places where we get our information, or we start to realize that, hey, maybe there's something more to this, is watching a show like that. So you start documenting what you're seeing. There's a lot of things that can cause people to feel like they're being watched, feel nauseous, get headaches. If it's an older house, there could be a lot of creaks and groans and things that you're not used to. And the one thing that can cause the headaches and things that I mentioned is you could have high EMF readings, okay, electromagnetic frequency. Now, it is believed that the other side, I'll call it that, emits a high EMF reading. That's why you will see if you're watching paranormal shows, they'll be using something like a K2 meter to see what the EMF is. What they don't show you, and I know that quite a few channels do this, especially on YouTube, is they will actually go around the place they're investigating and look for high areas of EMF and then try to debunk where it may be coming from, because electrical wires can cause that, especially in older homes. You've got a lot of electronics. Even I've even seen it happen with people that have a lot, like water running underground, even water nearby, but water running underground, like underneath the home, can cause that. Um, I took this course with Marie Diamond that I love, and you use dowsing rods. And she's taught you how you wouldn't believe. I was just thinking I should go over that course again. There was so much information. But for example, I'm going to share her story. And this would be a story of high EMF, okay, or an energy disturbance. She came from Belgium, and she said it was very commonplace. Yeah, ley lines. Thank you. I just saw that, Michelle. Thank you. That's exactly where I'm going with this. Thank you. And feel free to throw it in here. Um, so it was very common in Belgium to use dowsers. And her father was very, very ill and was palliative or end of life stage with cancer. And he always used to want her to sit near him on his side of the bed. And she wasn't aware of how sensitive she was to energy or the abilities that she has, but she could never, ever sit on that side of the bed, right? So, long story short, her father passes away. And all of a sudden, about a month or two later, her mother starts experiencing the same symptoms her father had with stomach cancer and the issues that he had. She's having horrific pain and what have you. So Marie shares in her she actually runs a free master class, I believe, every year about this, how to do this kind of stuff. She calls it diamond dowsing. Long story short, they call in a dowser because she figures, I can't really figure out what's going on here. This seems awfully odd that my mother is now experiencing the same symptoms as my father. What's going on here? So the dowser comes in and starts checking, all around, does a bit of a history. And what he finds is that right where her father was sleeping, okay, right where there were ley lines, Michelle, and I believe an underwater water, like river, deep in the ground, intersected directly where her father's cancer was. Now, she's very clear to point out, did these energy disturbances cause her father's cancer? No. But what they can do is weaken the immune system, which then she believes left him open to developing this cancer. The big answer to this mystery of why her mother was experiencing these issues, because her father was now gone, her mother was sleeping on her husband or Marie's father's side of the bed, and was starting to experience the same energy disturbances, if you will, in the same area. Now, how Marie fixes this, and she learned it from other dowsers, is she uses copper rods. And I'm really oversimplifying this, but there are ways to cure this. She even talks about in her course that if, say, you're picking up energy through because we do get energy disturbances with portals and things like that, how to stop that, or we're getting energy from the neighbor, or how to cross people over. Like, it's a really extensive course, and I really recommend it. It's an excellent course if that's something that's of interest to yourself. So we've covered EMF, and that can tend to be a big one. Like I said, it can cause nausea, it can cause headaches, it can cause fatigue, it can cause, you name it, quite a few symptoms. I've even seen depression caused from high EMF. You also can experience that though if there's believed to be paranormal activity too. Imagine if you had a place with higher EMF, you didn't diagnose it, and then you actually did have paranormal activity. You can see where I'm going with the EMF. So I would start documenting things, writing them down, videotaping. So maybe the knocks start progressing to, and I've heard this story quite a bit, ourselves included, things that you know are normally in a place, like say our keys. You'd see them where they're supposed to be, bend down to tie up your shoes, stand up, the keys are gone, and you think you're losing your mind, right? So did I jump to paranormal activity right away? No, I ripped the house apart numerous times, thought, I don't know where I put these keys. And then I come back an hour later, say to pick up the mail or the newspaper, and there's the keys sitting there. So, little things like this, does it mean that it's paranormal activity? No. It's something I think to be aware of if it keeps happening and you're not finding any answers, like maybe you're hearing noises in the attic, like scuffling around or footsteps or what have you. I would get up in your attic, make sure there's no critters up there or animals, or believe it or not, people have actually had, I guess, vagrants, I'll use the word, break into their attics and be living up there secretly. I'll never forget the video that I saw that this guy kept noticing. I don't know, he must have slept like a log, but he never heard anything during the night. But in the daytime, he would notice some of his food missing and his milk missing and what have you. And again, he tried to debunk it 6 ways to Sunday and he couldn't. And somebody suggested, why don't you just put up a camera in your kitchen and see what's going on? Lo and behold, and you can see it on camera, a woman was climbing out of the crawl space in this little tiny attic doorway. She had been living in his attic and she would crawl into the kitchen and eat his food. She'd use the sink as a bathroom. It was disgusting. Now, that's not common, but I mean, I'm just giving you a multitude of reasons of why things can happen. Okay? So maybe you've got these strange occurrences happening. I always say, too, if you've got small children or you have animals, I always ask, what are your animals doing? What are your children doing? What are they saying? I always counsel people. I'm not a counselor, but I always counsel people if I'm speaking to them and they've got small children and they happen to mention, well, yeah, my child seemed to develop this imaginary friend when we moved in the home. I always ask them quite a few details about this imaginary friend. Who are they? What are they? Do they have a name? Is there a name? What do they look like? Do you feel anything around you when your child says, this is so and so, my imaginary friend? Um, find out what you can, because I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many stories I've seen, because I believe we all have these abilities, but just as we have natural born leaders, natural born musicians, athletes, you name it, right? Some people, I think, maintain it through their whole life. They never lose it as they transition out of, say, early childhood into the tween age and then beyond. But does that mean that we can't reacquaint ourselves with those gifts? Absolutely not. Sometimes we need to work with different mentors or what have you. But I believe that children can see spirit. It's just too many examples that I have seen. And again, have I seen everything in the world? No. But I do believe young children can. I can't tell you the amount of videos I've seen of, say, there's this little child. I should give you guys a warning too. I'm going to read your comment in just a second. I forgot, my phone acts crazy. So fingers crossed. But if I suddenly disappear, I will be right back. I have my computer here. It's open on StreamYard. I'll let you guys know because my phone sometimes takes a minute or two to reboot. It's an Apple phone and it just seems to go into the spinning wheel of death. And you'll be able to hear me, everything, and then all of a sudden it just goes click and it's done. So if that happens, I will be right back, I promise. So I'm just gonna mention about the videos. There's one in particular. It's a little girl, and she looks like she's about 13 months old. She's just at that stage where she's just started walking, and the mom's videoing her. They're at the grandmother's grave, so it would be the the mom of the baby's mom, so it'd be the baby's grandmother, has passed away. And she's filming this, but she's in particular filming her little girl, because this little girl can barely talk, but she's going, yeah, uh-huh. And you can tell her eyes are following. She goes, okay, Gammy, love you, give you a kiss. And she's waving and blowing kisses. Like, who's this child talking to? And that's not the first video I've seen. I've seen many videos like that. Plus, just hearing people's personal accounts of what their children can see. My own children, when we moved into the home that we were in, were seeing things. And as I've mentioned, if you follow the show, I have a son with severe autism. When he finally could speak, he would tell me almost the same things his brother would. And they were in separate rooms. So, something to keep an eye on. I always say, trust your young children, trust your animals. What are your animals doing? I mean, if you are a fan of the paranormal and you've watched videos on this, I can't tell you how many animals usually will be able to see spirit. So what are they doing? Say you're hearing or seeing or feeling something, you've been documenting all this, maybe things are starting to ramp up. So we knew we had a serious problem when my little cabinet that had hung on the wall in the dining room for 12 years came flying off the wall. We were in the basement. We ran up to find out what the crash noise was, and we surmised that where it hung, it flew about 4 feet to the left, somehow came down and sliced our portable phone, our answering machine, and our caller ID. It looks like somebody used a razor blade to cut it. And then we found it in the living rooms because we had an open concept, and it looks like it flew probably about 18 feet. Now, the interesting thing about our cabinet was the hooks were still in the wall. You couldn't bend them with your hands, okay? But the one to the left looked like it had been ripped down. Still couldn't move it with your hands. Now, the glass in the little cabinet was shattered. A lot of my things were shattered that were kept in that cabinet, but the hooks were still in the back of the cabinet. And where the left one looked like on the wall that had been ripped down almost, the corresponding hook on the back of the cabinet is misshapen too. It came off with a lot of force. That's when we knew we had something serious going on. So, like I said, the main thing to do, I want to read Michelle's comments before I move forward. Sorry, Michelle. You said, I think I'd prefer to have a ghost than someone living, sorry, I don't have my glasses on, living in my home. Yeah, a lot of people say that they're not afraid of the paranormal, they're more afraid of the living. So I guess it just depends how you feel about it, because that's where I was going to go with this is, so say maybe, and again, I'm not giving you a comprehensive hit list here, we're just talking in generalities here. The other thing I want you to think about too is who else is experiencing activity in the home? Again, we talked about children, we talked about pets. Is there anybody else when you have friends over? Maybe you've got other family over, anybody experiencing anything strange that they're going to mention to you? Because that was another defining factor for us. It wasn't just us, it was other people experiencing it, coming over, as well as on video. Sorry, comment was from that. From the chick living in the roof, Rainbow Light. Hey, Kelly. Hi, Lorilei. Much love to you. Happiest birthday to you. Thank you, honey. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, but there's lots of videos and stories out there. Again, it's not like every second person, but to me, more than one is enough to have somebody secretly living in your crawl space or your attic. Like, that's crazy. That, again, you're right. I'd rather have, well, no, I don't want to say that. I'm not going to say I want a ghost. I don't want anybody living here but my family. How about that? So, say you've decided this. Like I said, the biggest thing I think you can do is document things, because those are some of the questions. Like, if you are going to be dealing with somebody paranormal, and I always ask people not to be offended, and again, this isn't a comprehensive list, is that if I'm working with somebody and they really want me to, give them some advice or what have you, and they're open to opening an investigation, I have a questionnaire that I've developed, and it's been through the help of working with various experienced paranormal investigators as well as people who do this kind of work. So some of the questions I'm going to be asking people: when did it start? Does anything make it worse? Is there a particular time of day? Is it a particular room, a particular area? Again, very obviously what we've talked about for the last half hour. What are you experiencing that makes you think that it's paranormal? But some of the things I'm going to ask that some people may be offended, and it's with no disrespect in any way, shape, or form, because I was asked these questions, is there any history of psychiatric illness, hallucinations? Are you on any medications? And the reason why those questions are asked is sometimes those things can cause things like hallucinations or, different experiences. Now, again, even if you truthfully answered that, yes, I've had psychiatric illness before, yes, I've experienced hallucinations in the past, but not of recent, that's not going to be held against you. It's just that something to be aware of. More information is better when trying to best help somebody. So some of the other things, like I said, the animals, kids, the one thing I always ask people too when they experience something, because a lot of people ask me, what is this? Is I ask them, how does it make you feel? When you've experienced this or you've taken that picture, what does it make you feel like? Because sometimes that can be the answer. So I'm great, Kelly. Thank you for asking. I am very, very well. Still working on the resin. I'm hoping to get it out there. I'm working on Halloween stuff right now. I just made the coolest Halloween sign. It's a welcome sign and it's in black, but I got some of the colorant to work. It looks almost like little tiny wispy spider webs right in the resin, and then the letters are raised in red. So those are going to be going in my little store, which I'm still trying to find a store. If you really want to know that I want to sell things at, I'm waffling between a few different places. So I'm trying to decide which one will be the best, but it's time. My house is overloaded with pieces, so it needs to be sold. I just got another, actually for my birthday, Dell just got me some really cool molds. I just got one last week that I didn't know it was a Ouija board, actually. It had like that death head's moth in the middle, which if anybody knows me, they know I love skulls. And it was I thought it was just a plate, but when it came, it's an actual, you could use it as a Ouija board or dowsing board, but it turned out really beautiful. So there'll be like a spooky side, there'll be practical side things, there'll be all kinds of things in there. My big adventure, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were up here from Toronto. They come up every year with their niece and nephew. And we were supposed to do resin last year. And this year, the weather didn't cooperate. This year it did. So I have to say, those kids were so amazing because we had 2 extra kids. So 4 kids with liquid plastic, if you will, outside, so patient, listened so well, and we had a great time. They got to take home all kinds of really cool little pieces, and they were thrilled, and we had a lot of fun. Oh, Michelle, I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. Maybe we're going to have to talk about that and see if we can maybe get some. I know that you're going through things. I won't say anything at all, but I understand with the block. But take it, you got to just take it one day at a time and give yourself grace too, that if you're not, and you know what that's like as a creator, because Michelle makes beautiful orgonite and resin too, that if you're not in the right headspace, you just can't force it, right? It's like anything, writing a song, writing a book, creating something with your hands, that when it's meant to happen, it will, and that's okay too. So Kelly says, that's awesome. Ooh, I like that deal, the Ouija board, dowsing board. Okay, sold. How much for one of those? That's the other thing, pricing things. So I'm going to start. I have been taking little pictures because the other thing I'm getting into, by the way, are tumblers that are so, I didn't bring, oh, I should have grabbed my tumbler that I made, and I'm making pens and notebooks, you name it. It's, yeah, Michelle, you can't force it. So it'll be all kinds of really, really cool stuff. And probably have some merch for the station as well with UPRN on it and the Angel Rock and what have you. So look for that. So back to this story here that we're talking about. So anyways, I'm going to go through an interview with you and I'm going to ask you, do you consider yourself to be sensitive? Have you noticed things with the paranormal before? For how long? Do you have any family history of it? Because again, it doesn't mean anything in particular asking these questions, but the more information we have, the better to be able to help somebody should they actually need it, that they're going through something paranormal. Um, some things that most people don't know, especially if you weren't looking for the paranormal, is do you know the history of the house or the land? Or have you got any information from, say, the previous tenant or owner? Like, why did they move out? And if you don't, that's okay. But if you're able to get those answers, more information's helpful, right? Um, there was another thing I was going to add with that. Tenants, history of have there been any tragic events that you're aware of in this home? Because everything's energy. Hey, Steve-O, how you doing? Glad to see you here. That's the thing, right? Because sometimes we can have things like residual energy, because one of the laws of physics is energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. So you have something tragic, like we can't say the word on YouTube, but I'll spell it SUICIDE, murder, ABUSE of any kind, anything like that, right? Or say we've had a battle on that ground or a lot of bloodshed, historically, that can hold that energy within the actual land, if you will. Then we get into things like burial grounds. And I know, especially over here in North America, especially where um, I live in Thunder Bay, which used to be two cities, Fort William and Port Arthur, and they amalgamated. And we are a big part of the Hudson's Bay fur trading that went on in Canada, because that's where a lot of it happened here. We had a fort called Fort William, and a lot of people traversing over here from England and the Hudson's Bay Company with the voyageurs, and there would have been a lot of Métis as well as First Nations people. The reserve actually is about 10 minutes up the highway from where I live on the north side of the city. Excuse me. So, and we've had quite a few tragic things and a lot of history here. I'm doing well, Steve-O. Thanks for asking. I know Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano have wonderful shows on Wednesday and Thursday night here. Um, she's very well experienced in the paranormal. She's been to our city and said, I know just talking with her when we've done paranormal panels here on UPRN, that she has said she can't believe how freaking haunted our city is, and it is. And I get people contacting me with some pretty strange stuff. Oh God, I hope that bug's on the outside. Sorry. I don't know what you guys call them. Dell told me they're called mosquito hawks. They look like these mosquitoes on mega doses of steroids. Like they're like this big with the legs. And they're harmless and they actually eat mosquitoes and stuff, but I'd prefer him to be on the outside, and he is. He's on my window. I was going, oh, please don't be in here, dude. So, mind you, over in Australia, you've got quite the critters over there, Michelle. You can keep your critters over there. Some of the ones I've seen. Holy cow. So, sorry, I'm getting off track here. I promise I don't, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but no, I don't have ADD or ADHD. My mind just goes a million miles a minute. So I'm thinking about probably 300 thoughts ahead of what my mouth is trying to keep up with. So, those are some of the things you may get asked or to consider. But number one, I'm going to say to people, if you can, start documenting what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, what time. Does anything make it worse? Does anything make it better? Again, animals, young children, what are they experiencing? Or even other family members or roommates in your home, what are they experiencing? Talk to people, get into some great groups. I know that Kelly and Steve Hopkins have groups on Facebook here. You can feel free to jot the name down in the chat here, you guys. I have a group, Paranormal University. I've got the Angel Rocker Tribe, but those aren't the only two groups. I mean, you can find something for everybody depending on what group you want to look at. We've got a mutual friend, Jason Bland's got a great show live on Sunday nights here on Facebook and YouTube called Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. But there's people talking about this, and the one thing I find with the paranormal is it's so isolating because it's not one of those topics that you're standing in line at the grocery store and you're going to say, hey, um, yeah, you know what happened the other night? My dog's floppy little llama that can't stand up stood up and took 3 steps the other night and then flopped over. What do you think of that? Right? You're not. And that actually did happen to Dell and I when we moved in here. So my point is, though, when somebody opens that door for that conversation, and I think most of us are astute enough that once, say, we're chatting with somebody, that depending on where the conversation's going or how it is, you can usually sort of feel if somebody's open to that, or somebody may say something that they notice strange on the news, for example, and then that kind of opens the doorway. But the reason I mention that is it never seems to fail that once somebody says something about the paranormal, say you're in a group of people and nobody's talking about it, but say they saw something weird on YouTube or Facebook or the TV, and then another person chimes in, and then another person chimes in, and before you know it, almost everybody I ever run into has got either something to add to it, whether it is even they don't believe in it, or they've had something strange and unusual happen in their lifetime. Would they call it paranormal? Maybe not, but they're open to discussing it. So that's the thing. I don't know how to change it. Okay, I'm going to read your comment here, Kelly. So S&K Paranormal, they got Rainbow Light Paranormal, My Journey, and Rainbow Light Paranormal. So she's got 3 groups on there. But again, there's so many groups depending on where you want to go, what you want to find, and sometimes you got to try a few out. Maybe it's not, it's not a fit for you. Maybe it's not what you're looking for. Listening to all different kinds of podcasts. The reason why I like podcasts or people just, say doing videos or lives is I think you get really down to earth people doing their best, not everybody, but doing their best to put the truth out there, because let's face it, folks, reality TV is not reality TV. Even our TV episode, and again, I don't say this with disrespect, I'm very grateful that paranormal survivors shared our story, but we had no say in what went into that story. They interviewed us for 6 hours, and then when it came on TV, it was the first time us seeing it versus anybody else that would have seen it. And I can tell you that things did not happen the way they tried to do the reenactments. Let's just say that the actress that portrayed myself took her role over the top. I'm not over the top like that. I can honestly say the only thing that really happened with any realism was the last part of the episode when Dell almost died. So I can definitely, but again, I'm glad that it shared this story because it's allowed me to meet so many different people and connect with so many different people. And again, people go through this, and it's not like you can just, most places, and I used to say this all the time, it's not like you can dial 911 and say, hello, dial a ghost. Can we get some help here? Like to help us figure out what's going on here. Why is this happening? Getting back to the beginning when they said, I don't charge to help people with the paranormal. I don't. Because I find, and I've told many a person, because I've met lots of people that are paranormal investigators that have never really had an experience and would love to have one. And again, I wouldn't wish this on a blade of grass. Am I unhappy that it happened? In a way, no, with our experience that we went through, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if I hadn't gone through what I had gone through. But believe me, there was a birthday. I'm trying to think back now, probably about 8 years ago. I don't even think I've talked about this before. I was choked 3 times every time I fell asleep, and it was bad. And after I thought about it, I never should have left the bedroom, but I couldn't breathe. And I got up and, I didn't want to wake Dell up. That's what I should have done because I couldn't breathe. Something was choking me around the neck. And I don't know why it was my birthday, but it was my birthday. And again, here we are again today. No, are we going through this stuff here now? No. So some of the things I was going to talk about, I'm going to read your comment here, Steve. You said we hope to get back to doing lives in S&K Paranormal Group very soon. Yeah, because you guys do some cool stuff just like other people do. And that's the other thing I want to add out there. And I'm going to tell my analogy that I use. So if you follow the show, you've heard it before. Say you heard, and I'm going to put the global you out there. Say we'll call him, I don't want to say Joe. I usually use the name Joe, but I love Joe Montaldo. He owns UPRN and he's great to us. So I'm not talking about you, Joe. So we'll change his name to Bob. Okay. So say Bob hears that a chainsaw is an incredible instrument to go out and cut down his chain link fence, which he hates and he wants to remove. So he heads over to one of the hardware stores, ends up buying a chainsaw without speaking to anybody at all, gets it home, reads the instructions partially, enough to get it started, gets it started, marches over to the chain link fence with his chainsaw, tries to cut through the fence, and then he is shocked as all get out when it kicks back and cuts his arm off. I usually use this story with the Ouija board, for example, because Ouija boards, are they bad? They can be very dangerous to use if you don't know how to use them. That is why I use the chainsaw with the chain link fence. You would never cut a chain link fence down with a chainsaw. Now, is the chainsaw evil? Is it bad? No, it's just a tool. It's the person that's using the tool that was not trained properly, was not working with other people, was not shown how to use it properly. And that's kind of the same thing with paranormal equipment. This is where I'm going with all this. Yes, Bob. That was just the first name that came to me. I usually say Joe, but I don't want to make it sound like it's against Joe because it's not. It's just, it's a common name, right? So it's the same thing where I see people and I just cringe. I'm sorry, I do. Hang on. I think their name is on TikTok, Jennifer Berardi, I want to say. She was featured on Nuke's Top 5. If you're interested in the paranormal, now he has not been uploading like he was. He must have something going on. As he said, his uploading schedule's all over the place because he gets videos of the strange and unusual sent to him from all over the world, and he features them. And she was featured on there. And there is no doubt in my mind this family is going through one heck of a paranormal experience. It is terrifying. And what happened was, it's a woman and her wife and their adopted daughter, and they've bought the property of their dreams. This place is massive. It is beautiful. It has a guest home. It is, words are not enough to describe this place. And they are completely renovating the whole place. You would not believe the paranormal things that happen at this place. Like, we are talking live streams on YouTube, we are talking on TikTok, but, and with no disrespect to this couple, they got to do what they got to do to cope with it. But what I see is a lot of people, when they think they might have paranormal activity, and right, again, it's not something like looking up everyday things like cooking or recipes. You can find it, but everybody's got a different idea. But the main thing, the reason why I'm mentioning this is using tools and not recognizing that you could be opening yourself up to more potential problems and opening up a portal, opening up all kinds of things because somebody thinking they're helping has suggested it. For example, I've noticed with this couple, they're doing EVP sessions and ghost box sessions, and they are communicating with whatever is there. Yeah. Now, again, have they been trained how to use it? I'm going to say no, from the way I'm watching them use it and how they're using it and how they're ending a session. And believe me, guys, if you get a chance to check this out, I'm positive the last name is Berardi. And this is with no judgment, no disrespect. My heart goes out to this couple. And what they are going through, holy cow. So they're using these ghost boxes because they're trying to get answers. And I will tell you this, Jen, and please pardon the metaphor, but she has balls of steel. Like, this girl does not scare easy. Like, I would be running for the hills with, and I've been through some extreme paranormal activity with the things they are seeing, they are experiencing, they are hearing, they are capturing. It is just insane. So again, I mean, they've got to do what they've got to do to cope. But that's where I was going with this is always get somebody to show you how to use one of those tools, because I don't believe they give you enough instruction with watching, say, a TV episode or certain videos. And again, a lot of us mimic what we see, right? They're getting good results on these videos, they're getting answers, but nobody's talking about the opening of this, say, session and the closing of this session, how to protect our energy, how to protect the energy of our families and people that are around in the vicinity, those that we love. Because the whole point I was trying to make is with the people that I know that I have met that are just dying to have an extreme paranormal experience is, if you really are dealing with something severe and negative, it doesn't listen to you. I mean, how many times have you heard or seen, if you're a fan of the paranormal, of somebody's child being targeted by something they can't see or feel, but it's negative, and the parent will get extremely angry, which we all would, and rightfully so, not knowing, though, if you don't know, that that would basically be food to something negative like that, but then saying, don't you dare touch my child, you come after me if you want something. You've just told this thing what one of your major trigger points is. It probably knew, but now it really knows, and you think it's going to listen to you? No, what these things go after are things you can't control. Your health, your money, your relationships, your things like that. So that's where I was going with this. So most people I meet with that are really truly victims, I don't want to say victims, experiencers of extreme paranormal activity, usually finances are an issue as well. So I know for ourselves when we were going through that, everything in our home was breaking. We were having to replace. I mean, I can't tell you the things that were happening. I, I'd be here for hours. So I just feel that it's only fair to pay it forward because people did this for me. So I don't charge to help people with the paranormal. Okay, sorry, I just saw you there. What is it? Krasny Sirius just came to say happy birthday. Got to go again. Peace and blessing. Well, thank you. How sweet of you. Thank you. So Kelly says, I'm going to go back up to Michelle. Always a male name. Oh, you're right, Michelle. Well, I'm not anti-male, but I don't know. There are women I know that use power tools. I was quite proud of myself. I actually used sinkers and hung up a shelf and did everything myself. But most women, at least where we live over in North America, not everybody, but a lot of us don't use power tools like, say, a lot of men do. So, and I'm not being sexist, I'm not being anything. I think that the reason why we have differences is because we each have our beautiful things about us that make us who we are. So, Kelly says Ouija boards can be dangerous if not used properly. The portals those boards can open is unreal. Yes, and these are the things I am seeing people doing that are having paranormal experiences because they're trying to get answers, right? And again, we see stuff on TV and we emulate it because, again, it's you, who we don't learn about these things in school. It's not like someone's going to teach you about it. Like, and you know what I mean? Like spelling and math and reading and writing and right. Most people don't even believe in this stuff. People are starting to, but there's a lot of people that don't. Then I've met a lot of people who didn't believe in it, but went through extreme paranormal activity and they're definitely a believer now. So I think you have to experience it if you're not a believer. So, but that's just it. That's my whole point. And again, is a Ouija board negative, like evil? No, it's a tool. But the other thing I will add on to Ouija boards is collectively, for those that know what a Ouija board is globally around the world, has very negative connotations with stories, with what beliefs, with what. So it already has a lot of negative energy attached to the thought of a Ouija board. Never mind that I remember, and I've told this story many times, I used to go to a biannual autism conference in Toronto, in Ontario, here in Canada, and they had a Disney store. And I didn't know anything about the paranormal, just knew that Ouija boards were something you shouldn't play with. I wasn't aware of my gifts, I wasn't aware of any of this stuff, right? And I could not believe they were selling blue Ouija boards, blue Mickey Mouse Ouija boards, and pink Minnie Mouse Ouija boards right on a pedestal at the front of the Disney store for boys and girls. Go figure, right? What better thing for a child to play with that's innocent, that has no idea about any of this stuff? That's how things can happen. Same as, again, are doing EVPs bad? No, no. I mean, but there's a way you do them. There's a way you open the session and you close the session and you protect your energy while you're doing it. It doesn't mean that there's no guarantees that, say, you're dealing with something, you're at a really, really notoriously haunted place, for example, and something might happen, right? You might get scratched, you might whatever. Again, this, for anybody that doesn't believe in the paranormal, they're going to listen to this and think I'm crazy. But like I said, if you start to research it, you start to look. Now, the one I have the most belief is when I'm watching a live investigation, say on YouTube or on, could be TikTok, could be Facebook, could be anywhere. It tends to be a lot more believable to me when I see something happen right before your eyes. There's no breaks in the cameras, it's live streaming. And say somebody ends up with, oh my God, I got a severe pain on my neck. And then they look, and within 5 minutes later, there's a big scratch down their neck. Where'd that come from? Right? And you've been watching them on camera. You can verify that no, they weren't scratching at their neck, they weren't doing anything like that. So that tends to make me more of a believer, if you will. Like I said, if you can, I'm pretty sure it's Jay Berardi is the name, Jennifer Berardi. If you look up Nuke's Top 5, probably the last couple months she's been featured on there, or you look her up on TikTok. Even if you put something close to that name, her channel will come up. This will blow your minds, guys, the things this poor family is going through. And can we do things energetically, from a distance? Absolutely. But you need people's permission. We've got a guest here. Oh, we got Deli. Hey, Del, I've been talking about you nonstop. Hi.
Hey, how's it
We're
going?
good. We're talking about the paranormal and how to know if you're haunted or not. Now, our resident skeptics here. So we were
Okay.
I'm talking about right now. There's a couple on TikTok. They were featured on Nuke's Top 5, and I believe her name's Jennifer Berardi or Berardi.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the incredible, insane things that are happening to this family, and live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I'm also talking about, though, using devices that you haven't been trained to use, because I said
Yep.
with no judgment, her and her wife were using a ghost box in the dark on their property, and the things that were happening. I watched this video just recently, and again, maybe they've been trained, but from what I saw with this ghost box, they weren't shown how to protect the energy, open the session, close the session. But the things that came through were mind blowing. And then I was just talking about things like Ouija boards and what
Mm-hmm.
have you. Hmm.
Right. Yep. It's not a good idea to play around with things you don't understand. It's
Or to get the training. That's the main thing. Hey, Debbie, thank you. Del, you want to tell people again where your show is and who you are again? And I already talked all about you before, but there's other people here now, and you just popped on. So go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. My show is on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. The Delicious Recipe here on UPRN.
Hmm.
And yeah, it airs on the UFO gods and extraterrestrials, UFO paranormal done twice, and Also on Facebook, the delicious recipe. You can watch it on there, and whatever other ones there is there. Pretty much everywhere else. Spreaker.
Well, anywhere where podcasts or talk radio are carried,
Right.
our archives are carried always.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a thing there. I remember even watching. Remember watching one thing there too about people playing with Dybbuk boxes.
Oh, well, let's talk about that. Because that'll be a new topic. Because again, that was a big trend going around a couple months ago. And the Mindseed TV video blows my mind. So remind me about that. But go ahead. What were you going to say about it?
Yeah, they're weird. Who knows if they're made up or true or whatever, but there is some sort of lore that's involved in that. And it has like it's sort of like very negative energy that are put in there. And if you want to buy one of these, and people, I don't know, I guess they were selling them on Craigslist or eBay or stuff like that, and could have been from somebody that's dead or somebody that was possessed or something like that. And you're just basically transferring energy from one place to another. That's sort of how the way the
Okay, so what I know of a Dybbuk box is that historically that the word, I want to say Ukrainian or Russian, possibly Polish, and I believe it translates not to necessarily demon, but like devil or something like that. So
Mhm.
when there was perceived negative energy, certain, I guess whether you want to call them healers or they might have been known as witches, whatever it is, and I'm not
Yeah,
using that with disrespect, these evil entities were bound in a Dybbuk box. So bound meaning they
yeah,
couldn't escape.
like a gin. Yeah,
Well, a jinn's different. A jinn comes from the Middle
Mm,
East. And I
yeah,
didn't even get to videos of that I have seen that are mind blowing from over there.
hmm,
Mind blowing.
yeah,
So back to the Dybbuk box quickly. Mind Seed TV. I would check out their video on a Dybbuk box because he, I believe, was not a believer in the paranormal.
hmm,
And the flavor of his videos never ever really slanted towards the paranormal like they do now. So he bought a mystery Dybbuk box
yeah,
off of eBay. He didn't believe in any of this stuff. And so we talked about EMF and how you measure it with, say, with a K2 meter. He was checking around the box. There was a really high EMF reading, nowhere else in the room. And he was quite a non believer, you could tell. So he opens this box up. There's a really awful smell, he says. Then he takes the K2 meter and no longer is there a high EMF reading. And then that's when the fun begins. And believe me, he caught some crazy stuff. Now, again, because it wasn't live, I'm sorry, but, and maybe Dell's maybe more of a skeptic, but you've got to be so careful because the video I seen today, I could not believe. And it relates, but it doesn't relate. I have a little chat group. I work with two other ladies quite closely in spirit, and they said, take a look at this AI. And it was a link to the X Factor. And I'm going, did they send this link by accident? I thought, okay, I'll look. First video, these two AI that met in the audience, I guess, while they were waiting to perform, they teamed up and they said they were AI people from Belgium and I think Finland. And they teamed up with a previous contestant who had a really beautiful voice. And you didn't know what they were going to do, right? So the singer comes out there. They bring out this really big camera. And we're waiting forever for this guy to start. And the two AI guys are standing with Terry, whatever his name is, the host of the X Factor now. All of a sudden, the guy starts to sing. And Sofia Vergara is like hitting Simon, going like, look, look. And he's like, what? What? But when you pay attention to the screen, it is Simon Cowell singing the song in a white shirt. Undetectable, no way, no how difference to be able to tell that it was the guy standing in front of you singing
hmm,
versus the words a whole bit. So my whole point of bringing this up is what they can do with video and audio nowadays. Anything could be faked, right?
That's the that's where you sort of have to go and look at these videos and stuff like that. Ever since the Blair Witch Project, where they did that
Mm-hmm.
whole thing there, and that sort of brought a little bit more light to the part about creating a supernatural situation. And well, the Dybbuk boxes have been around for over like hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
years, and the lore around them is just I guess it's sort of old world sort of
Yes.
that's
Magic.
yeah, and I guess the part of it is that if you really believe it and you're really in, it's the same with a lot of things there. If you can trick your own mind into it, because like I was saying, like with the Blair Witch Project, when I saw that in the
And
theaters,
you were working out in the bush.
yeah, that sort of like that really
Yeah.
threw me for a loop for a
Mm-hmm.
bit there, and I was like, oh, is this actually true? Is this real? And then you find out it was all just actors scripted, but
Mm-hmm.
but you see things, and your mind can play a lot of tricks on you. That's the whole thing about pareidolia,
You
and
talked about that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then audidolia, your
Mm-hmm.
ears, yeah, the audible, and so that's why I always say, like, the part when we're looking at things is that you really have to do your own research and really have to be scrutinize these things there, because a lot of people want to become famous.
That is true. Okay, we have some paranormal people in the chat right now for sure.
Yeah.
Debbie Grasberger, Schmoley, Steve O and Kelly. How it's like dog eat dog, right? Whenever you get something where money can be made, that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And if you notice on that part there, because we watched that Nukes top five there.
Yeah, I mentioned him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of people that are on there that keep on getting featured in that. And then you see, well, go check out their channel, and you'll see there'll be like 1,000 videos of these people doing things. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, is they just doing this so they can get on some sort of TV show or get a special? But the one part, remember we talked about this before, is that why don't you set up a stationary camera that's from far away, and then one that's there covering the whole thing? And why does everybody run away when they see a ghost? You're there to go and find ghosts, right?
Well, I've had somebody that was featured on Nuke's Top Five on my show. He was a friend of mine, Debbie, and it was actually Debbie, Stevo, and Kelly. You guys probably know him, Rick Wade. I know Debbie knows him because that's how I found out about him years ago, was from Debbie. I had Rick on because he was featured. He was at a wedding, and he's a medium, and he did what you said, actually, Del, at the beginning, at this haunted house at the end of his road. Probably Debbie can tell
Mhm.
us way more about him. But anyways, I messaged him because I seen the video the minute it came out. I go, oh my God, Rick, you're featured like number two. And then I think he messaged like 3 weeks later, oh, by the way, I'm featured in Nuke's Top Five. I said, yeah, I know. Look back at your messages from before. But
Yeah.
what had happened was he was at this wedding at it was a friend's, I think. It wasn't even family, and it was being held at the home, and there was no reports really of paranormal activity or anything. And for some reason he had asked if he could go upstairs and, well, oh, I'll have to send it to you, Debbie. He had asked if he could go upstairs and film. It was an older home and it was really beautiful, and he's in this one bedroom and he's filming, and out of the corner something happens with the closet, and then the next thing you see, this little girl in a dress twirling, like off on the side. The little girl wasn't there when he filmed her. And so we did a whole show about this. He came on and talked about the experience and why he had filmed it, and yeah, he was really grateful that Nukes had featured it for him. So there's
Yeah.
another couple, like I said, this Jennifer Burr. I know I'm pushing at you guys, but this will blow your minds when you watch some of these videos. Steve-O says, I'm going to read a few things here, the comments. So Debbie says, no thanks. He still opened it. She's talking about the Dybbuk box. There's no way I'd ever buy or open a Dybbuk box. Nope. No, me neither. And Steve says paranormal should never be fortune and fame. And I agree, because then there's a lot of pressure, and then we see a lot of things that how do I want to put this? I'm just going to say it, faked, to make it look like something's showing up. I'm not saying everything's fake, but there are some
Mm-hmm.
things when there's a lot of pressure to produce and perform. Um, and then Debbie says yes about Rick Wade, and she says she hasn't seen that video. Yeah, I had him on right after the video came out. Actually, it was a really cool conversation because he brought some video and photos and clips because we got into how this all started for him with his abilities and why, and it was really interesting interview. But with this Nuke's top five, like I said, with this family in New York, and this is their dream home. Like she even had to send her wife and her daughter back to the city because it's in New York because it's been so dangerous. And they're looking at adopting a new baby, but they don't want to bring a baby into this situation. But like I said, this is their dream home. They're renovating. It's absolutely beautiful, the property. Now, another case I have been following, Nukes does feature from time to time. It's called Really Haunted on YouTube. And it is a couple by the name of Lee and Stacy over in the UK. They have crazy stuff happening on camera. Now, the thing is, and this is with no disrespect towards this family, because I'm not walking a mile in their shoes. I don't live in their home, but he seems to be very adept at camera and editing and video and all kinds of things. Now, how this story started, apparently he was really interested in the paranormal, living over in the UK. It's quite easy to travel over in Europe versus where we live in North America. I believe from what I've been able to understand is Lee and Stacy had a vacation over in Romania. They went to one of the old castle sites, and Lee took a piece of the castle back home. And all hell has broken loose in their home. And he documents almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
He's got SLS cameras. This thing seems to be communicating to him through their Alexa. He's caught some strange stuff. Stacy, his wife, has been ripped right out of bed. Again, a lot of the things that happen, could you fake it? I guess. Like his night table will go. He's got these black orbs that show. The one thing I will tell you now, again, can it be done with video effects? Yes. You can literally see where this thing is going to develop in the room. On his SLS camera, the being has come up and gave him a shove on the camera, and he'll go falling back. He's had scratches. He's had all kinds of things. And I know he's talking about visiting back over to Romania and returning this brick or whatever, because it's kind of like Briar's remorse, because he never really had much, it sounds like, to do with the paranormal. And like the banging is incessant. Like this thing will sit there and just go bam, 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 bam. Like we're talking 12 hours on end.
Well,
Like it's,
you know about stigmata, right?
oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you might
Right.
want to tell people what stigmata is because they may not know.
Okay.
I'm sure people do, but those that don't, just
Okay.
that are
Well,
listening.
what it is that certain people will end up having holes in the palms of their hands and their feet, and they'll bleed from them. Right, for how like Jesus was
Like
done
Jesus was
on the
crucified.
cross.
Yeah.
And the thing is, was that the misnomer in a lot of this is that he was nailed through the palms of the hands, and
He
that's not
wasn't.
how you crucify somebody.
It's through here.
You go through here,
Yeah.
right, or through here, and because otherwise your body would just rip out through the nails and stuff like that. But the mind is a very powerful tool,
I will give you that. Yeah.
and it can create a lot of things. That comes into this whole part about even dealing with placebos, right? You can give somebody
Yep.
a sugar pill and tell them that that's the
Yeah.
cancer drug, and their body will cure themselves. Well, not just cancer, but other things, anyways.
Yeah.
And there was another one that it was just recently there that was I just watched about a week ago, and a guy had gone home, and he was drinking, and he ended up he wanted to kill himself, so he took the whole bottle of pills. He was in a test group for this new medication there. This is all during the COVID time here, and so He gets rushed into the hospital and says, hey, it says, here's the bottle of pills. I've taken the whole thing there. And the ER doctors there, they'd called the doctor that was running the test that was in there. And the guy's like, his heart rate was elevated. He was like, he was flush. He was sweating. He was like, had barely any, no function at all. Or not, no function, but he was like, he felt like he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally got a hold of the doctor that was running the test, and the doctor calls in and says, no, you're in a B group. All you've been taking is sugar pills.
Oh no, why would he say that? Did he crash right away? He probably did.
Well, he just went like this, and he all of a sudden, within 5 minutes, boom, right, the brain's, oh, I didn't overdose on this new medication that I was
Oh,
taking,
okay.
right? He thought that's what
Mm-hmm.
he was
Well,
gonna
I
die.
thought you meant, sorry, I misunderstood you. I thought that he'd OD'd and that he was given a medication that he thought would
No,
reverse
he
the
thought
effects.
he
Mm-hmm.
thought he was taking the
I got you.
medication,
Yeah.
and he overdosed on it, right?
Yeah.
And
And the
so
minute he realized that he hadn't,
well,
everything
when
went back to normal.
the doctor called in and said,
Mm-hmm.
no, he's in this group that's not taking this. He's in the
Yeah.
blind, because it
The
was like a
blind,
double blind
blinded. Yeah.
study in that day, because the doctors at the hospital didn't know like
Which
what
is
type,
which. Yeah.
what is the new medication, right? That's the whole thing about doing studies and testing new drugs
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And yeah, and then they said within about 10 minutes after getting the news, there, the guy's
Fine.
fine, everything there all just returned to normal,
Mm-hmm.
because your mind can play a lot of tricks on you, and that comes back to this whole part about the paranormal. If like like I was saying about with the Blair Witch Project there, when until you found out that it was actually a fake story and stuff like that. If you were outside any time in the nighttime there and you saw twigs that were together or saw certain things, your mind would start playing tricks on you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even like when people saw the movie Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis in the very beginning, and that
Mm-hmm.
anything with Michael Myers and stuff like that, like you get your mind can be very overactive and can create
But the one
sensations.
thing that's not overactive, I have to give it this. And this is where I was going with all this about trying to discern what, and I said this isn't a comprehensive list. That's what I started this with, was how to know if you've got paranormal activity, was many of the questions to ask, some of the information to find out, some of the things you may be asked by an investigator. Because I said it's not with judgment. Like, say, you've been asked if you've got any history of psychiatric illness or medications. It just gives more information. Like, say, I said somebody answered, yes, I've had hallucinations in the past. I'm well managed now. They're not an issue. It's
Mhm.
just more information to give to the story to try and figure out what's going on here. What are you experiencing? Right? Because
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that's the whole thing. There is that we can't say yes or no that
mm-hmm,
it didn't actually happen, because
mm-hmm,
there's no way to, unless everybody that we're talking to right now was there and experienced it at the same time that you experienced it or we
mm-hmm.
experienced it, or the literal you. Uh, it's you don't, they can't, you can't know, right?
No, until you've experienced it. But where I wanted to go a little bit with this is what can you do if you do believe you're experiencing paranormal activity? I talked about some of the things you could do to document. Are there other people experiencing it? Something makes it worse. Is there an area that you notice more of this stuff? But what can you do? And one of these people, how we started the show off, I said had contacted me. I literally felt from spirit that this was something they were going to be able to manage. Now, some of the things that can put you at risk for this, again, we're talking about energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting all woo woo. Not that there's anything wrong with woo woo, but we're getting almost like I said with science. Energy can be transferred from one place to another. We also are basically energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got an energy field for people listening. I know you know all this stuff. Um, and for people that think like aura, oh, that's just for hippy dippy kind of stuff. Okay. I wish to God I can remember what TV show it was, but we do this naturally. Say you don't know somebody very well and they get right up in your face, you will automatically back up. because it feels uncomfortable. That is your aura. That is your energy. And certain people, depending on how well we know them and the intimacy that we have between them, we're comfortable with it. But if we don't know somebody well, and that's where the TV show came in, some guy got really close to another guy and he's going, dude, personal space. That's your aura. Okay. So some of the things that can affect this, okay, are things like illness, medications,
Oh yeah.
drug or alcohol use.
Mm-hmm.
Say you've got a lot of arguing and fighting going on.
Mm-hmm.
You're depressed. And again, these are things that can lower your natural energy. Okay. These are things that can sort of be affected. So that's
And
some of the,
the other part there too is as well is that depends on your environment. Uh, different areas there resonate different types of electrical fields, especially if you're
yeah, we
near.
talked all about that at the beginning.
Yeah,
I
especially.
wish you were here for the beginning, Del, because I talked about EMF.
Well, I was at work.
Darn you for being at work. No, but I did. And I actually, that's why I said I'd mentioned you quite a bit.
Yeah.
But we talked about certain things. And Michelle was here from Australia, and I forgot to mention it, like ley lines, underground water, electrical
Yeah.
panels. Like there's all kinds of things
Yeah.
that can make you feel like somebody's watching you, sick
Yeah.
to your stomach, headaches, many of these things that you
Yeah.
may be feeling,
Well, that's.
physically. That Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with older homes,
You
and
mentioned that too. Mhm.
yeah, because the piping there for the water pipes and how it goes, and then
I
with the
did
old
mention about the
knob,
water.
the knob and tube electrical lines that
Mm-hmm.
are in the house and stuff like that. And some people are more susceptible to electrical fields than other people are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I, I've told you this many times about my auntie Kathy. She has
Yeah.
a different magnetic sort of thing in her
I'm
body.
meeting more and more people like this. I don't know why, but go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah, if
continue.
you give if she can't you can't wear an analog watch or a digital watch.
No,
Her body
no, break it.
electricity will screw it up, and even those little twist up analog watches, somehow her electromagnetic stuff in her body
Yep.
will mess it up.
Yep.
Yeah, and she was a nurse too, so when she was trying to go and take
A
things, and
pulse
she had to go and just look at the clock on the
clock.
wall because she
Yeah.
couldn't wear because
Could
all
wear
the
a
nurses
watch.
had the little
Yeah,
watches,
I
the
had one of
little.
those when I graduated. I got one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty handy, but then in a while when you do dressings and stuff, or it would hit a bed rail, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
better to just look at the clock on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
because
watch.
I remember back, like it was about I think it was like about 9 years old, something like that. We went to Temagami in Ontario there for family vacation on my dad's side, and I got a brand new watch for my birthday, and I think, oh, that's a really nice watch. And she goes, oh, I says, well, I'm gonna go swimming. Do you want to hold on to this for me? And my my mom's like, don't give her that watch. It's like,
Your watch will be ruined. Don't give
yeah.
it to your aunt. So, no, but I wanted to leave people with some things. Oh, sorry. Michelle said furniture, items, and jewelry holds energy and previous owners. Yeah, you might not have been here, Michelle.
Yeah.
G'day. And Michelle says, G'day, Del. From her birthday's around the same. I thought it was the same day, August 15th, but she's ahead of us. But she said, I think it's the day before, but I knew it was close to what my birthday is. No, we did talk about that. I did not talk about furniture and jewelry. So let's talk about that. Everything holds energy. I think Debbie just fixed it for us there.
Yeah.
Yes, anything can hold energy
Mm-hmm.
because everything is energy. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're energy, everything. That was I think a topic that we were even talking about beforehand. There is that even when people pass on, where your energy goes, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
something there. And that was a whole question about soul and consciousness and what happens afterwards. So, yeah.
I don't have all the answers. Del knows this, and some of you do that know me, that I have studied near-death experiences for 40 years. at least 40 years. And I've studied them professionally as well as personally. I believe I may have had one as a toddler. I had a fever of 106 and it kept
Mhm.
seizuring. And the last one, they kept sending my parents home. The last one, I actually had it in the emergency room. And then I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks and my parents weren't allowed in the back room. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm 57, so that was quite a few years ago. So anyways, and I still don't
I
know the, oh,
I
what were you saying?
just want to just say here we are energetic. Michelle Pratt had said there, and yes, we are. We have electrical
Mm-hmm.
stuff in there, and the thing is, though, is that our body is what 76 or 78% water. Water is a good conductor of electricity, and if
Mm-hmm.
you look back to the whole part of uh, the Egyptian pyramids and the water
Mm-hmm.
vehicle through there, and they're still trying to figure that out. There's a lot of differing things on that, but
I never forget what you said to me, and it's so true. Is and one of our neighbors is going in to be a nurse, starting this fall. And I said, you won't even have to look at the calendar or the weather to know when it's a full moon. But the reason, what really resonated with me was something you said quite a few years ago, and you had said, well, it just makes sense that we are affected by the moon because we are made up of so much water. Look
yeah,
at the effect the moon has on the tides and the water around the world, right?
yep. Well,
So
it's
how
yeah,
could we not
the
be?
moon and the moon and the sun that affects our tidal situation here on Earth. There, yeah,
Hmm.
ebb and flow, and yeah.
Hmm.
So you got to figure uh, people also must get a little bit of that drawing and pushing away and stuff like that, and then people that have uh, I guess you'd say I don't want to say mental problems, but or
Mental health
condition
issues.
mental health issues that
Hmm.
can be just a hypothesis. It's whatever that could be a thing that's on there. Because I remember when my mom, she had told me when she had just finished nursing school. See, I was born on May 25th with 27 nurses in the room.
Yeah, I told Dell, everybody's seeing you naked. You had
Yeah,
27 people or
yeah,
women.
yeah. 1:05 in the afternoon. Yeah,
Hmm.
but her, I think her first thing was that she had to work at the LPH,
Oh
and
God. Hmm.
and everybody said like the days coming up to the full moon and just afterwards were the worst days.
Hmm.
Period.
I
And
worked in a nursing home
yeah,
when I was going in university, so I was going to add quickly, and I always knew when it was full moon. Always. Hmm.
yeah, and that's and there's been sort of talk says, oh no, the moon and that stuff, their full moon doesn't affect people, and there's been certain stories say it doesn't, but that's where you get the most craziest activity. Period.
Oh my God, do you get? I can tell you more babies are born around the full moon.
Yeah,
Um, every single thing that I worked on in the hospital, we would know. You just know. You would not have to check the calendar. You would know. A couple days before, a couple days after. It was like a full week of absolute insaneness
yeah,
around the moon. But I do want to say to people that are listening though, because some of the things that I shared with one of the people that reached out, they were so kind to let me know that they had incorporated a lot of these things. It was a person I'd mentioned. I was just sort of feeling intuitively like they would be able to change some things that could help. Now, how this started again, they heard me on a podcast. Del, you saw the picture. Um, they sent me a picture taken of their, let's see, person looked like about 5 or 6, and it was around Easter, and the dog is sitting by or is sort of perched up beside the child standing there. Behind it looks like a black hooded figure behind them, and you can see through part of the picture and part of it you haven't. They're having a lot of activity. Now, something that was important to note, and it wasn't me that picked it up, I shared it with somebody that is well versed in these areas as well, because again, more information the better. And what they pointed out, which I thought was very, very pertinent, the dog was not alarmed. You can see the dog looking at the figure, but its hackles aren't up. It's not distressed. I would tend to say it almost looked more curious, wouldn't you, Del, from that picture?
Yeah, there was like the dog sort of knew what was there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now that was the sort of the impression that I got out of that. But see, that's the thing there, and we've talked about this many, many times there, uh, with digital footage and stuff like that, and how it can be manipulated. Unless you have it like a negative that you can prove that that's
Hmm.
an actual picture. Like I said, everybody wants to be a TV star and
I
a
will be
motion
honest
picture
with you
star.
though,
So,
and to be fair, and again, I mentioned this at the beginning and I'm going to mention it again now. Confidentiality is of the utmost importance to me, even whether I do a reading, whatever it is. So I will not say anything to identify this person. But I know from speaking to them that they were not seeking paranormal fame or
mhm,
anything. And the situation that was going on in their home
mhm,
that they shared, definitely, let's just say the energy fields would be affected and in many different areas.
mhm,
So I believe we're meant to live in balance on this planet. I really, really do.
mm,
That's why I think grounding and gritting is so important. I think I shared that video more with people. And the other one I have is called How to Create a Love Shield. Because especially if we're somebody that defines as empathic or extremely sensitive to energy, you'll hear, oh, you got to put a shield up. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect yourself. Well, how about we come from a place where we're not afraid, that we use one of, I believe, the most powerful emotions that we possess as human beings, which is love,
yeah,
and create that. So that's where we went with this about we can't control what other family members are doing in the home,
yeah,
but what could we do for ourselves? And with small children, they tend to be an extension of ourselves when they're
mhm,
small like that, right? So
yeah,
this person really did listen. They watched everything I sent, they read everything I sent, and I was so happy to hear that there actually has been a real improvement in the activity. But the reason why I think it's so important when people take this seriously, and I think they did, is because I think we can help ourselves in most of these situations when we look at maybe what's going on. And sometimes I think these things are there to help teach us something. Like I said, I wouldn't wish on a blade of grass what we went through in our
mhm,
previous home, but I know that I would be doing what I'm doing today. I think it brought you and I closer.
mhm.
There's a lot of positives that came out from a very negative situation, but I think it's how you perceive it and what you want to take from it. What were you going to say, Del? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just like I had mentioned you. I think at the very beginning is that you have to know the dark before you can understand the light.
Yeah. Oh, you did at the beginning when we were friends. Yes, you did. I just started doing my angel cards. I got my certified angel oracle card certification. And I remember saying this to Dell. We had just started hanging out as friends. And I said, I'm only doing angel cards because I only want to deal with the positive. I want nothing to do with the negative. How prophetic was that? But what did you say?
Yeah, well, you have to understand the dark because you won't understand the light. You don't know where the
Hmm.
balance is, right? So how are
Hmm.
you? And it's like well, that's the best way I could sort of say it. You can't know good unless you know evil, because
That's
then,
true.
right?
Can't know truth if you don't know lies.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right.
Can't know cold if you don't know hot, or vice versa. You have to know the difference. We live in this duality here on earth, if you
Hmm.
will.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and that's the whole thing of that yin yang thing there, right? There's a little bit of good and bad, and there's a little bit of
Hmm.
bad and good. So,
But the yin yang, okay, so let's talk about that. The yin yang symbol, right? It's the perfect balance, if you will, of white and black, of light and dark, what it is.
hmm,
And it's in a circle figure, so it's in perfect balance when it is. And that's why, again, again, a lot of people I have found is that, and this is again through somebody we both know that taught me this, and I believe it as well, is when we're very ungrounded, our energy,
yeah,
um, that again, whatever might be putting our energy off balance can make us open
hmm,
to these kind of things. We
yeah.
really, really can. So you guys are having quite the chat here in the chat. I'm ready for fall too, Debbie. You can ask Stella. I've already picked up Halloween stuff from Michael's.
Yeah. Uh, Yep. Fall is my favorite time of year. Even though I'm born in
Mhm,
May, I still like fall. It's the
mhm.
best. It's like no mosquitoes, no black flies,
Yeah.
and it's just nice, nice even weather
Hmm.
until the snow hits up here anyway. So
Oh gosh, and we had a winter from hell here. We did with the it hardly seems like we've had a summer with the amount of snow we had. So hopefully that was our bad winter for this year
yeah,
and then it'll get better.
yeah.
Oh, you guys can catch up. I was just teasing you. You can chat all you like. I'm glad that you're chatting. You keep on doing it.
Mhm.
So you guys have added a lot to the conversation. I'm glad that you hung out with me. Like I said, I don't normally do shows just by myself. So I knew Dell was working till 6:30. That's why I was so surprised to see him because I thought, oh, he's going to be dead tired when he gets home. And
Yeah,
then he popped on here. So I'm glad
yeah.
that he did.
Did you tell them about your tomatoes?
No, you can tell him all about it. You can tell them.
Well, I don't have to tell them.
I He's going to show you. I know he is. No,
No, I won't. I won't go
you
in.
can show them.
I
Well,
won't do a. I won't do a walk around.
a walk
No,
around?
I'm too tired.
Oh, you're too
My legs.
tired. Okay, so what happened? And I can't believe this. Okay, I want to hear your thoughts out there, everybody. I can't believe the amount of people I have run into that say, I can't grow a thing. Now, don't get me wrong, if you got cats or you got whatever and they disturb your plants in your house but I don't understand how you can't grow anything. Am I being silly or what? Like Del, what do you think?
No. Well, this was test garden number two,
Thanks, Debbie. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so last year, all we grew was cucumbers, basically in the front yard,
Yes.
and, no,
Yes. Hmm.
and nothing grew in the backyard except some
But we
potato.
know why.
Well, yeah, well, the 10 bags of organic soil helped, and
Hmm.
tilling it
Hmm.
all up there, and then you find out that it wasn't supposed to be a garden, but you know what? It ended up being a garden.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll go take a
I knew
little
he was going to
tour.
do it. Okay, no, please don't take offense to this, anybody hearing this, but I keep saying to Dell, oh my gosh, we're getting old. We marvel at our garden every day. We do. Because I did a fairy garden. Are you in the front?
I'm in the
Oh, in
backyard.
the back. Yeah, I did a fairy garden in the front. So
Oh,
everybody
look at how
stops
big this
by.
guy's getting here.
Yes. Mhm.
He's getting
Okay,
big.
so let's talk about this for a minute. Now, again, maybe it's the way you approach it, but I don't think this is new science that plants talking to your plants. Like there's a video I had seen a couple of
Yeah.
years ago of a lady. Hang on, Della, I got to tell the story quickly, and then you can show
Yep.
them all your there are beautiful
Oh,
things there. Or do you want to
uh,
say it first?
no, no, no. That's good. This
Okay.
is like a. I'm just. Well, you say whatever. I'm
No,
just surprised that something grew there this year, and that was it.
okay, so there was a lady apparently that didn't really know anything about audio recording or anything like that. And she went out to some park or something, and there was a whole sea of ripe sunflowers. And I don't know, she had a microphone or what she did, but she attached it and she recorded. Like she couldn't hear anything, but she recorded. And when she brought it back, like it literally sounded almost like a symphony. It was so strange.
Hmm.
And I don't know, Dell and I joke often because with more and more science that you read, they're proving that plants are sentient. Like mushrooms are almost like the Borg, like one mind kind of thing. And
Well, yeah, yeah, it's a huge, huge thing there. Yeah, with the well, they're going through that more with the funguses and mushrooms and that.
Mhm.
But they were also finding this is another one that was really interesting is that
Oh, don't let
uh,
me forget to tell about the TikTok trend with the trees. Sorry, go ahead. Okay.
yeah, well, that this is part of there was the trees, but there was also a part with a certain type of coral that was in the Pacific Ocean, and when it was impacted, it caused a reaction in the Indian Ocean
Oh, I didn't
through
know
there.
that. Okay.
Yeah, this is the whole thing about energy, right? And
Right.
you gotta figure, right? The Earth is a big, huge spinning magnet of energy, right? You got a metal
Hmm.
core that's in there. You got flows all over the place,
Hmm.
and they're finding out even with trees is that if you have an insect that comes in and starts killing this certain type of tree, the root system will cause the other trees to put up defense, and
Hmm.
they'll cause them like to go
Yeah.
sappy or stuff like that.
Hmm.
And they're finding this intertwined thing there, that there's a, if you sort of think about it as the movie Avatar,
Hmm.
right? Is how everything is energetically connected,
Hmm.
and they're finding this out more and more, that there's like, you can do something if you put a match to this tree thinking it's a forest fire. This one over here 5 miles away, this group will start closing up its leaves.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother had a plant. It's called a mimosa plant, and it was illegal because it came
Hmm.
from Ukraine,
Okay.
but but uh, but she had smuggled in and got people to bring in these seeds, and she grew it there. And this mimosa plant is that grew out. It was really nice, and then as soon as you touched it, all the leaves would
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I've seen that. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I just remember that from my childhood of this
Okay. Well, what
mimosa
I
plant.
want to
Yeah,
share, and again,
yeah.
I don't spend hours on TikTok, I promise. People send me these things. So, by the way, Kelly, I saw your spaghetti in the slow cooker. I think I actually showed Dell that. You're going to have to send me the recipe. But I was smiling, Michelle, when I read your comment and I highlighted it because you said vegetarians are in for a big shock. That's how I was going with this. Dell and I joke like they are, right? A huge shock because,
Yeah.
like, they're living and sentient. Okay. New trend on TikTok. And I haven't tried it yet because I'm waiting for a day with no wind. But by these people's faces, they did not expect this to work. Now, there's a few joke ones once I tell you this. Okay. So, what people are doing, and it's a viral video, and I've seen hundreds of this happening, is people, I guess, with the viral video, somebody walked up to a tree and said, "Hi, beautiful tree. I'm sending you tons of love. I'm sending you gratitude for the shade you create," and blah, 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 blah. I'm wondering if you could hear me. Could you reach one of your branches out and have it touch me on the shoulder? And they have to wait like a couple minutes. Like I've seen a few people do it for 10 seconds ago. Doesn't work. But I've watched it and the tree, and they're not moving. Like I'm watching this person to make sure they're not moving. The tree comes, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you, slowly migrates and usually just taps on the shoulder. So I have seen numerous people try to do this themselves. And by the look on their face, they are absolutely astounded that it is happening.
Hmm.
Then there are people, of course, you always got to have people make a joke. The first one I saw, I was falling off my chair. Yeah, I tried the tree, could you touch my shoulder challenge, and it didn't go so well. So they just have the person standing there pretending they're asking for the tree. You see the tree off in the distance, and somebody must have a string on it, pull it back and let it go whack, and the person goes flying as it hits them in the face. So you know there's somebody that's going to ruin it, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, that
oh, go ahead.
you have to even look at there too, is that you've noticed
Hi,
this.
David Wilkes. Hmm.
You've noticed this too, is that plants grow fast.
Hmm.
If you put a time lapse, like you see how far like those cucumber vines and stuff
I
like
talked
that,
to them.
and how fast they just moved right out. Like you're there one morning,
Hmm.
they're over here, and then the next 24 hours later, they've gone almost about 4 feet.
Yep. Yep. And you may think I'm crazy, but I had to trim the tomatoes down, and a couple got little branch or stems got broken off. So I just said, I'm really sorry, but you need a haircut and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to knock your branch because you know what? It can't hurt, right? Whether you
Yeah,
believe in it or not, we're doing something right because everybody in our neighborhood keeps going, next year, can you come and help us plant our garden? It's not hard. You just got to get good soil. And we have a really slow and short growing season here
yeah,
in Canada.
yeah,
Every one of our plants, I think, came from seeds except for the tomatoes. And they were just these little spindly little plants, right?
yep. That's
And
true. Yeah,
the strawberries
yeah,
came from a plant.
and the potatoes I just planted from just old potatoes that had already gone started to go to root. Yeah, but there's another part there too, is that there's been studies that have been doing there with working with pyramid structures over top of plants.
Like copper?
Doesn't have to be copper. It can be anything, but a pyramid
I love it, Debbie.
that goes over top of the plant, and I guess it's the electrical field, I guess, from the whatever the metal
Yeah.
is, and it causes the plant to grow fruitful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was, yeah,
Oh, Debbie, I wish you lived closer because Dell is going for his butcher apprenticeship at this amazing local store. It's called George's Market. And he brings these home. It's asparagus and it's wrapped in prosciutto on the barbecue.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It is addicting, 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 addicting. That sounds good. Thanks, Kelly, if you're going to send me the recipe because it looked really good in the slow cooker. So, and we should be on Dell's show, The Delicious Recipe, but he doesn't do cooking. Believe me, he doesn't. So, David, welcome. I'm glad you tuned in. We were talking about the paranormal, but in a way, we kind of still are.
Well, paranormal plants.
Yeah, but you know what I think it all is? It's the mysteries of the earth because I've always said the more I open the door to this world, the more little I realize I know. And
Well,
many things that I believe to be true, say 10 years ago, I
mhm.
now question or I've changed my viewpoint on it from the more people I connect with, the more research I do and what have you, because there's not a lot of absolutes in this world. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Well, this is the part that I started my whole show off with. There is about asking questions and questioning everything, right? And the thing is, so is that you got to figure is that I use this analogy all the time. As a little kid, you ask questions about everything.
Right.
As you go to
Excuse me.
school, you're told the questions and the answers.
Hmm.
And after you finish school, you no longer question everything because you were tested on it, and that's what the final result is. So
Ooh.
there's a whole part about out of it. There is that you have to look at things, and there's maybe a different way of looking at how things are done. Just because somebody wrote a book, the one book that everybody in the classroom has to go and
Doesn't
memorize
mean they
and
have
read
all
and
the
get tested,
answers.
that book could be incorrect.
Hmm.
Like for history and stuff like that, well, for a lot of things, right?
You
So
were reading my mind about history. David, you had to go bring this topic up. We're almost out of time. Actually, we have, again, you can't go by those numbers because we're broadcasting all over the world. So we have quite a few people watching. But when you guys come and you engage in the conversation, I love to make, and I know Del does too with his show, we love to make you part of the conversation because if you guys weren't here, we're talking to nobody, right? So we really appreciate you being here. But David, oh my gosh, I have been wanting to do a show on giants. I wish I had thought about it because his comment for people listening, he says, and they cut the giant trees down in the deserts for a reason. And then he said, the giants. Because have you guys heard about that story? I believe it was in Desert Storm and that they ran into a giant. And did we talk about this on one of your shows, Del,
yeah,
about
I
why
did.
the well, I was just
I
going to
did a
say,
show. I did a show on giants
well,
there.
I just
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
add, why does it seem like most of these giants have red hair and red beards? Why?
yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so what can you add to that then?
Well, they didn't all have red hair. That was just a lot of them there, anyways.
Hmm.
But there was giants like they're
Ginger
all
giant.
they're all through like this is a huge topic. I did like an hour and a half show on this. It's it's all through history and all through there of very
And the
large.
lore from
Yeah,
different
yeah.
countries.
It's
And
the same thing with you got giants and you got very little people,
yeah, well,
and
your
they're
big thing's the little people.
yeah, they're all through everything, and it's if you get into the part they're talking about fairies, gnomes, and goblins, gremlins, and
I
stuff like that.
never thought, how many times have I said that I thought I would be having a conversation with you about fairies and little people? And we do.
Hmm.
Michelle says they're ginger giants because they're Scottish. I don't know if they are because we've had people from Scotland on talking about giants. We didn't even get into the gin. You brought it up and we were going to talk about it.
Yeah,
And we got about 5 minutes left, guys, and that's it.
yeah,
So we'll have to have another. I don't think I have anybody booked for Labor Day here in North America, which is the Monday. So if Delhi's working, We won't be out at the cottage, so
Mhm.
maybe we can plan to do
Oh, we got
do
a
a
funeral next week. That's
yes, we do. We should send our condolences to Dell's cousin's family and cousin. I mean, it's his immediate family because you do.
yeah.
So, but what I was going to say is usually around the bank holidays for people in the UK or Australia or whomever calls it that, we call it a long weekend. The last one of the summer is Labor Day. It's usually before school restarts, not always, depending on where you live in North America, but up here in Canada, it's after Labor Day. So I don't usually book guests on those days. So I would love to do a show about this, about giants and many of these things. That's the other thing I want to tell my listeners out here. If you guys have ideas you want us to talk about or guests or whatever, let us know, right, Del?
Yep. Well, October is supposed to be Halloween month, right? 4 weeks of Halloween. Is that what you
Yes,
were
it
saying?
is. Yeah, I'm working on how I've got somebody booked. I just mentioned that on the show. So Halloween night, I have so far, unless something
My
comes up,
boyfriend.
sometimes things
Can
happen.
I get at the
What?
My boyfriend is a little person. He's like 5'8".
I know,
That's
Debbie. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. And Michelle said condolences to you both about Dell's cousin. He was such a sweet guy. He really, really
mm,
was. We're gonna
yeah,
miss
had a,
him.
led a tough life there, but he was in the Special Olympics. He got to travel the world. So
Yes, he was. He's such a sweet guy and special place in our heart because of special needs. And we have Dell's stepson, my son, special needs. So he's a real sweet, sweet guy. So we're gonna miss him. So David Wilkes says, child abductee, I was one. Wow. Well, we could just keep talking. David, where were you earlier? We were talking, we were going to do all things paranormal. You'll have to pop back in. Day of the Dead would be a cool topic. It would be. No, but what I would love to do with that is actually have somebody from the culture come in and talk about that versus myself because I can research it. Thank you, Debbie, because I don't know what's your thoughts. Like we could research it, right, Del? But to have somebody who actually celebrates Day of the Dead and
yeah.
everything behind it,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Well, you guys, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me on my birthday here tonight, and Deli popping in because he's exhausted, I can tell. And David, don't be fooled by if you only see one viewer on Facebook or whatever, because we have all I don't know what my dog's doing. We have all kinds of people watching in like 160 countries and live. And then wherever archives are carried, they are carried wherever podcasts or talk radio are. So iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker, Podbean. That's just a small fraction of where we're carried, right, Deli?
Yep. Yeah. There's so many I can't even remember.
Okay, where can they find you again? You let people know and then I will sign off on here.
Yep, I'm on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central, right here on UPRN, and the delicious recipe. You can find it on Facebook there too as well. Become a member in that one there too. You can join the group.
Yeah, yeah. And we thank you again, you guys, for your beautiful messages here. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Steve-O, Kelly. We got David.
Yep,
We got
and happy
Michelle.
birthday, Laura.
Thank you. I will be back next week. I believe it's with a friend of mine I've had on the show before. Her name is Rain Dappelmeyer. I haven't connected with her, but I think she's coming on next week. She is a light worker, but also I believe she's starting a publishing company. So she's got some really, really intriguing books and things like that to talk about. She's a really knowledgeable lady. You guys will love her. So I will be back same time, same space next week, Monday from 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we're a 2-hour show. You ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. Don't forget, I got 2 groups too, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and the Angel Rocker Tribe for many of the topics, both those groups that we talked about tonight. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Made my night tonight. Loved having you here. Thank you, Deli, for being here. Sending
Yep.
y'all so much love and light. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. We will see you next week. Same time, same space, same day. Mwah.